Hey there, it's Max. This is part two, challenge two of the ADA series, in the sixth year of the Spokane Cyber Cup. In the first challenge, we read through the assignment submission source code, and the second one has very similar ones. In the first one, it was command injection. This one has a slightly different bug. So let's read the prompt. Challenge two, not climbing, but the goal is to trick the program to allow you to read the flag.txt file. Can you do this? Hint, how is the file being read from? Hint, how is the UUID variable being used? I think for this one, it's actually more sane to just start looking at the source code right away. So if we just do search for UUID, it's gonna get that, has to get that from somewhere. So there's some code that is gonna have to grab the UUID. Yeah, so this code's reading the UID and she's getting it from environment variable. And as we talked about before in the previous challenge, this is just being set when you log onto the box and it's random. So you can see here that the UID for this one is just one stored in the UID variable. The thing is we control environment variables. So we can now start looking for UUID and how it's used. Now when we write to a submission, it is actually using the path as our UUID. So for instance, if we do the submit, should be submit to. When it does that right, it is actually writing to ls base, which we're not allowed to read inside of base, but it will do assignment 1 and then the UUID. And you can learn this by reading the source code or running this program locally. So if we look through this, we can think, okay, it's read from a file. Now what is this UID being used for? In the submit assignment, it is being, you can see in run submit, it's being passed in, and the UID is being concatenated to part of the path on the submission. Cool. In run view, it is not being used at all. And then for review submission, it is taking the path, it is concatenating the full path of our program, it is adding the directory path, and then it is going to add the UUID. So once again, it is, when we call review program, it is just looking for a file at this path, and then it is reading it. Now, if you've done some Linux command line stuff, you probably have stumbled across using cd multiple times. Now, the cd command allows you to move between directories. And when you do this, you specify a path that you want to move into. However, there's a way to traverse backwards. And you can do, it's done via .. So now I'm in home instead of being in submit to. So right now we went to /home and we were just in submit to. So using that .. we're able to traverse backwards. And this is a fairly common technique. There's a fairly common technique we can use for exploiting this called directory traversal. Because this is trusting the user environment variable and is using that as part of the file path, we can set the UID to have a bunch of .. in it and have it read the flag.txt file. I think it's pretty cool. Because remember, this run review program, it's doing some string concatenation, but at the end of the day, it still has to render this path. So the path that it's generating is something like the base path, which is just going to be something like .. It's going to be base, the name of the assignment, and then the UUID. So if we control the UUID, we can just do .. which will put us back into base, .. and then flag.txt. So of course we can't read that right now, and we're not allowed to traverse back into that, but the program can. So we want to set the UUID now. We can do export UUID and set it to just that. And I believe if I did my directory traversal stuff correctly, because it has to be exact in this case, then if we do view assignment, which I am lazy, so I will grab it from here. It will then, attempting to read an assignment, but because we specified the UUID, went all the way back and set flag.txt, it will read the flag instead. Again, this is a technique called directory traversal, where you can control the file path to read unattended files. In theory, you could probably also use this to write to specific locations, but I'm hopeful that my permissions are good enough so students can't do that. Cool. So, to recap this all, the Ada challenge is two fairly standard classic vulnerabilities. One is a command injection, and the other one is a directory traversal. Hope you guys had a good time learning about this, and it was fun for me to take a trip down the Ada assignment submission when I was in college. Good luck on the other challenges.